Hello everybody, Kyle the Pixel Prince here, and today we're going to be diving into the demo for the newest original IP from Capcom, PRAGMATA. This game almost feels like a fever dream, like, you know, it's like it's coming back from the grave, and yet it releases in like, I think 4 to 5 months in April. And it's weird because I remember seeing like a teaser for this game like a few years ago, and then all of a sudden, like, now I'm reminded that the game, actually that teaser trailer came out like 5 freaking years ago, and it's just like, god dang man, my back ain't the only thing that's freaking slipping right now. Anyway, let's dive in and see if this PS5 demo can live up to the 5-year hype. So starting with story, PRAGMATA follows Hugh Williams and a young android named Diana, and I don't know exactly why, but his name radiates like that same weird energy as like Jack Bruno from Escape to Witch Mountain or John Connor from Terminator. Anyway. The pair are stuck on a space station and your goal is to send a signal to Earth in order to be saved. I'm sure this game featuring an android that acts like a child and a less serious father figure will have a super happy ending, where nothing bad happens to anyone, right? Right? Honestly, there isn't much to say about the story here. As you move about the station, you can come across emails and recorded holographic projections, similar to Dead Space, albeit a lot less violent, at least from what I've shown here, and they give you slight glimpses into the daily life of living with androids that are essentially able to do everything the workers can, and better, which make them question, you know, their lives a bit. Big yikes on the timing for the release of this game, am I right? By the way, fuck AI. Moving on. These story bits can also be accessed via your menu in case you walked away or didn't listen or didn't even feel like reading the note, which is really nice. There are also small interactions between the characters, but nothing that paint the full picture of the world quite yet, which is fine by me. I'm just afraid that maybe the story might be a bit predictable. I mean, I don't know, we've been seeing a lot of stories that come up in the recent past, very similar structure to this, where it's like a father-daughter, father-son kind of situation, and I don't know, it just gets me thinking like with androids and robots, kind of reminds me of like Big Hero 6. I'm just hoping they don't do the thing where it's like, oh, she died, but at the very end after the credits roll, oh, memory transferred to another unit, that kind of thing. I'm really hoping that they can at least surprise me, because right now the world is a bit bland and I don't find it that interesting, but hey, you know what, when the game releases, hopefully the story will pick up and keep me invested for the long haul. Next up is gameplay, and if you've ever played Resident Evil 2 or 3 Remake, then this game will feel very familiar, as it is a third-person shooter with a twist. That twist being that your companion Diana can hack practically everything in your general area, from refill stations to rising platforms, and of course, the android enemies. As for environmental objects, it's generally just a matter of pressing the buttons in the correct order or rotating the designated buttons till they connect in the middle. As for the enemies, it works a lot like BioShock if it was like simplified. You're essentially just tracing a path to reach the power button, hitting all of the blue pieces along the way, and making sure you don't overlap, kind of like Snake. If you activate it successfully, the enemies become vulnerable and take more damage, as without hacking, they practically take none. You can find these yellow mods around that will add bonus benefits when hacking enemies, from lowering their defenses to hacking up to 3 enemies in a given area at the same time. Reaching these may add a bit more stress while aiming and definitely make you take the long way around to the power button, but they are extremely satisfying to complete and they are very beneficial. And I can only imagine the abilities that will be released in the full game. Outside of hacking, your arsenal consists of a standard grip gun, which is just a handgun, and a jetpack. However, you can also find several weapons and tools, which include the stasis net, which stops an enemy in their tracks, even the big ones, the shockwave gun, which is just a shotgun, but a damn satisfying gun to shoot, and the charge piercer, which is comparable to the Spartan laser from Halo, and can only be found in the second playthrough of the demo. The handgun has unlimited ammo, and every other gun is a pickup that breaks after it runs out of ammo. I guess recycling doesn't exist on the moon quite yet. But thankfully, guns can be found quite often, they are easy to spot, and the refill doesn't remove the gun when walking over it unless you are fully out of ammo in that gun. For me, the pressure of the enemy coming at you while having to solve a simple puzzle is a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of like Alan Wake with the flashlight mechanic, but you control how long it takes to weaken them. The enemy and the puzzle variety are okay. Once again, if you're speeding through, this demo can be done in less than like 12 minutes, as that was my best time. So I'm hoping that more enemy types and puzzles will be integrated to kind of switch up the gameplay and keep me on my toes. At the end of the demo, you do fight a boss and unlock a special ability tied to the 2 joysticks that sends a surge that, hacks an enemy and stuns them for longer time than a regular hack. Super cool fight, but I'd have to see this ability used in like a standard battle, just to see how it works. Things can get pretty hectic too, especially when you have more than 2 enemies on screen, and the multi-hack wasn't unlocked until the second playthrough of the demo, but after a few enemies, I began getting the timing for dodging and hacking down, and this was all with the difficulty set to the highest the demo would allow. I'm sure the difficulty will ramp up when the full game is released, but only time will tell. Now, in my time in this demo, I didn't encounter any glitches, and the only gripes I had was with the enemy AI in the tutorial, which one could have actually just been a user error, but essentially I was trying to get the timing for the dodging down for enemies like down pat, and for some reason the enemy just refused to hit me, and then the moment that I stopped focusing. The enemy slapped the crap out of me so quick I couldn't really do anything. So once again, probably user error, but it drove me crazy because then after a certain point, he just would not hit me. And the only other thing that I had an issue with was the hover mechanic. I kind of wish the forward motion of the character was faster, and more dependent on like how far / which direction you push the joystick, as you know, I had a lot of issues with it, specifically during the platforming segments, which in my opinion can be pretty tricky. And while I never technically fell off, I can see myself getting upset if I miss a platform that might actually have consequences later in the game. But I suppose, hey, you know what, that is a problem for later. Only other thing of note would be the limb you pick up, which has absolutely no purpose in the demo as far as I can tell. However, I've heard, that depending on how you play the demo, it'll actually affect the sketchbook drawing at the end, and I'm sure in the final release it'll help you upgrade weapons and skills and stuff like that. Outside of gameplay, the graphics are probably the most notable thing to discuss, as they are gorgeous. From the subtle facial animations of Diana to the animations and effects of the enemies, the satisfying tick of damage numbers flying off enemies when you unload a few shockwave rounds into a hacked enemy, everything art-wise in this game feels polished and deliberate. However, I do find like the main character and enemy designs are okay, if not like a little, I don't know, uninspired, but with the option for costumes and a possibility of seeing different types of enemies, it's too soon to tell if it'll stay that way. The UI is pretty clean and the hacking minigames are easy to read. However, I play with a PlayStation controller, and since the demo was a Steam exclusive, it only gave me Xbox button prompts when playing, which threw me a few times when attempting to hack things. Hopefully they change this in the full release, but I'm planning to buy it on console, so I guess that's really just a gripe for the demo. Sound is really good, from the gun sounds, the slowdown sounds when dodging perfectly, a successful hack, or once again blasting a hacked enemy with a shockwave gun. The sounds are top notch, and all of those things barely hold a candle to the music, which I didn't even hear on my initial run due to technical issues, but after going through the footage again, I realized how much it added to the experience. As far as the voice acting though, nothing really stood out. Diana is okay, Hugh is a bit boring, but considering this is only a small fraction of the game, once again, it's a little too early to tell. All in all, despite being a game that I may have forgotten about / had no interest in, I can easily say that now I do. However, despite my interest, I'm not sure this is a day one buy for me. Don't get me wrong, the game plays pretty well and it's pretty fun, but the characters and the world just didn't pull me in as much as I wanted to. And had they been a little bit more interesting, I might have felt a little more inclined to pick this up or even pre-order it. And it's hard for me to say no to a game that Capcom is releasing, especially with the fact that they're releasing it at like original price point of what it would have been worth back then, which is $59.99. Nowadays in the game industry, that's bumped up like another 20 bucks up. Like they don't go beyond the minimum of like $70. So yeah, very difficult for me to make that choice and say I'll wait for a sale, but yeah, I think I might be waiting for a sale for this game. But hopefully, you know, if things work out and maybe I just have the additional money lying around, I might pick it up on day one if I don't wait for a sale, and maybe then I'll be able to give everybody a full review once the game is officially out. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed the review. If you'd like to see me clear my backlog and playing other various games in real time, feel free to follow me on Twitch. My handle's going to be right here or right here, whichever one is easiest to see. But yeah, that's going to be it, and I'll also link it in the description below. And also be sure to check out my other channel, Retrograde. It's a channel I run with my fiance and one of my best friends, where we also play various LPs, there's animations, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. Just feel free to check it out, and once again, I'll drop a link in the description below. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next review.